Have you ever left a once comforting place feeling more exhausted than uplifted? As we grow older, locations that once brought joy can start to drain our energy instead. What's most troubling is that many people don't notice the toll these places take until it's already affecting their health, peace of mind, or sense of self. That's why today's message matters. It's not about cutting yourself off from the world, it's about self-preservation. This isn't driven by fear, but by awareness in the importance of setting smarter boundaries in your later years. Between the ages of 65 and 80, your emotional, physical, and mental needs shift. You require deeper rest, more meaningful connection, and environments that offer safety rather than strain. Yet many older adults continue returning to places out of habit, guilt, or the hope that things might feel the way they used to. Often, these places aren't openly harmful. They wear you down slowly. You may not notice the damage at first, but over time, they leave you feeling emotionally depleted, physically worn out, or mentally foggy. You might already recognize the signs. After visiting a familiar spot, your legs hurt, your chest feels tight, or your mood dips unexpectedly. It's easy to blame aging, but it's not always about time passing. It can be about where you are. Some environments subtly rob you of your well-being, leaving you tired, unsettled, or even sad without a clear reason. Today's video explores 6 specific places that older adults should consider stepping away from. Not because you're losing worth, but because you've gained perspective. These insights come from lived experience, and they could help you avoid unnecessary pain, fatigue, or future regret. It's about honoring the wisdom that comes with age and choosing environments that nourish rather than deplete you. Before we dive in, think about your own life. Have you ever chosen to stop going somewhere, even if others thought you should keep going? What made you decide to walk away? Share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's begin. Place number 1, the hospital when it's not truly necessary. One of the first places older adults should reconsider visiting too often is the hospital, especially when there isn't a real medical emergency. To be clear, this doesn't mean ignoring genuine health concerns. If you're experiencing symptoms like chest pain, sudden dizziness, or blurred vision, you absolutely should seek immediate medical care. But what's important to address is the tendency to go to the hospital out of habit, anxiety, or loneliness, a behavior more common than many realize. Many individuals between the ages of 65 and 80 were raised with the idea that if something feels even slightly wrong, the hospital is the safest place to go. While that thinking may have served a purpose in the past, it can become counterproductive with age. Hospitals are inherently high-stress environments. They're filled with bright, unnatural lighting, constant noise, hurried staff, and long wait times, all of which can quietly wear down your nervous system. Just being in that space repeatedly can take a toll on your mental and emotional peace. Take the example of Henry, a 78-year-old man who began going to the hospital nearly every week. After losing his wife, he lived alone and rarely interacted socially. When he felt slightly off, tired, achy, or unsettled, he would check himself in. Initially, the visits were harmless, but eventually doctors became less responsive to his concerns. They ran unnecessary tests, prescribed medications that clashed with one another, and ultimately Henry was hospitalized, not for a health condition, but for complications from those very medications. Another unintended consequence of frequent hospital visits is how it shapes your self-image. Over time, your mind may start linking the hospital with vulnerability and illness. Even if you're physically fine, being in that environment too often can make you feel fragile, dependent, or even broken. And once that mindset begins to take root, it can influence your overall sense of well-being and health. At its core, this isn't just a physical issue, it's psychological. As we age, small symptoms can feel more threatening. A mild pain doesn't feel harmless anymore. It feels like a warning. For many, the hospital becomes more of a place for emotional reassurance than for physical treatment. But that short-term relief comes at the cost of long-term stress, unnecessary medical interventions, and a growing sense of helplessness. Instead, consider healthier alternatives. Schedule regular visits with a trusted primary care provider, use home monitoring tools, and become familiar with your body's natural rhythms. Talk to someone, a friend, a therapist, even your pharmacist when you feel anxious. You are not defined by your age or your worries. You deserve peace of mind, clear judgment, and the confidence to know when your body truly needs help and when it doesn't. Place number 2, the crowded supermarket on weekend afternoons. Let's take a closer look at a place that seems safe and routine, but has quietly become one of the most draining environments for people over 65, the busy supermarket, particularly on Saturday or Sunday afternoons. While it might not appear dangerous at first glance, it presents a number of physical, mental, and emotional challenges that many older adults don't fully recognize until the toll has already been taken. As we age, our bodies go through subtle but important changes. Balance may decline, vision may respond more slowly to shifting movement or lighting, and joints often stiffen, making it harder to move quickly or recover from sudden stumbles. In a packed supermarket, these changes matter. Navigating narrow aisles filled with people and carts, avoiding kids darting around, and dealing with high shelves or low bins, all while surrounded by harsh fluorescent lighting and constant announcements, can turn a simple grocery run into a mentally and physically taxing experience. Take Judy, a 74-year-old woman who used to enjoy her weekly grocery trips. It gave her a sense of independence and accomplishment. But after she was bumped by a heavy cart and slipped on a wet floor in the produce section, she realized those outings were no longer worth the risk. A single fall could lead to a lengthy recovery or a permanent loss of mobility, consequences that are far more serious as we get older. But it's not only the risk of physical injury that makes crowded supermarkets problematic. There's also the mental and emotional strain. Long checkout lines, confusing store layouts that seem to change every few months, and the sheer weight of carrying groceries can leave seniors feeling more exhausted than accomplished. What once felt like a simple errand now leaves many drained for the rest of the day, especially for those dealing with chronic conditions like high blood pressure, arthritis, or general fatigue. Then there's the health risk. Supermarkets, particularly crowded ones, are hotspots for spreading germs. With weaker immune systems, older adults are more vulnerable to colds, flu, or other infections. A single cough from someone nearby or a sneeze in a tight aisle can lead to a week or more of illness and a much longer recovery time than in younger years. Let's not forget the mental toll. Loud noises, constant movement, bright lights, and cluttered visuals can overwhelm the brain, leading to cognitive fatigue. Repeated exposure to this kind of chaos can even accelerate memory issues or reduce mental sharpness. Additionally, a psychological burden begins to develop. Grocery shopping once gave a sense of control, planning meals, sticking to a budget, handling the task independently. But now, when reading small print becomes difficult, lifting heavy items feels like a strain, and other shoppers seem to ignore you, that sense of competence can start to fade. You begin to feel overlooked, like the world around you is no longer designed with you in mind. That slow erosion of confidence is just as significant as any physical discomfort. The good news? There are better ways to approach this task. Many seniors are now opting to shop during weekday mornings when stores are quieter and staff are more available to help. You can move at your own pace, take breaks, and ask questions without feeling like you're in someone's way. Some are embracing online grocery delivery services, not because they're incapable of shopping, but because they're choosing to use their energy more wisely. Time and energy are precious, and saving them for things that bring real joy, like spending time with loved ones, going for a peaceful walk, or enjoying a hobby, is a smart trade-off. You don't have to prove your independence by enduring chaos. Your value isn't measured by how many bags you can carry or how quickly you can finish your errands. You've earned the right to prioritize comfort, safety, and peace over routine. So if you've been navigating busy supermarkets just to hold on to a sense of normalcy, consider this your gentle reminder. You can still live fully while making life easier. Place number 3, the Stairfield Public Park or Trail. Let's talk about a place that seems harmless, even restorative on the surface. Your familiar public park or that scenic trail you've enjoyed for years. It may have been your favorite spot to walk, clear your mind, or meet with friends. But once you're past 65, and especially as you near 80, these once reliable outdoor spaces can present real, often hidden risks that many don't notice until something unfortunate happens. The truth is, aging bodies don't bounce back the way they used to. Navigating stairs, for example, puts far more pressure on your knees than most people realize, especially when going down. Steep inclines, on the other hand, can raise your heart rate and blood pressure quickly, particularly in warmer temperatures. And many of these parks and trails were designed long before accessibility was a priority. That means uneven ground, tree roots, broken pavement, or shallow dips can cause a misstep in a heartbeat. One of the most deceptive dangers is confidence built on past experience. You may think, I've walked this trail 100 times, but your body has changed. Your reflexes have slowed, your balance has shifted, and the smallest error can now lead to a serious injury. That familiar trail can suddenly turn into a hazardous path cloaked in nostalgia. Take Alan, 78, for example. He kept hiking his usual weekend trail despite some signs that it was getting harder. One day he tripped on an uneven step, resulting in 2 broken ribs and a bruised hip. Since then, he hasn't walked without a cane. Beyond physical danger, there's also the risk of being alone when something goes wrong. What if you fall where no one sees you? What if your phone falls from your pocket on a steep descent? And what if you lose your sense of direction slightly? Something that can happen more easily as cognitive sharpness naturally fluctuates with age. A short walk could unexpectedly turn into a long, disorienting ordeal. These natural spaces also have a way of tempting you to do more than you should. Maybe you walk a little farther than planned or try to climb that hill to prove you still can. But that push can backfire. Injuries caused by overexertion not only set back your physical health, but they can affect your self-esteem too. The frustration, fear, and sense of loss that follow a fall or injury can stay with you much longer than any bruise or strain. Even when accidents don't happen, uneven terrain can quietly wear your body down. If you're managing arthritis, recovering from surgery, or living with joint pain, each step on a rough trail adds inflammation to your ankles, hips, and back. Today's soreness can turn into tomorrow's stiffness and eventually avoidance. You may start limiting your activity not because you've lost the desire, but because one bad outing shook your confidence. Does this mean you should give up the outdoors? Absolutely not. Nature remains a powerful source of peace, healing, and vitality. But it does mean it's time to be more selective about how and where you enjoy it. Opt for flatter walking routes, community gardens with benches, or indoor walking spaces where you can move safely and comfortably. It's not about giving up your favorite routines. It's about evolving them to fit the person you are now, not the one you were 10 years ago. There's strength in making thoughtful changes. There's wisdom in recognizing that something that once served you well may no longer be the best choice. The parks and trails will still be there, but your well-being, your ability to move freely and independently, that's what truly deserves your protection. Place number 4, the high-energy family gathering. Sometimes the most exhausting place for someone over 65 isn't a crowded supermarket or an uneven hiking trail. It's right in the middle of their own family gathering. These events, often filled with warmth and love on the surface, can quietly drain both the body and spirit. It's rarely discussed because, after all, it's just family, right? But for many older adults, these once enjoyable get-togethers can become overwhelming in unexpected ways. There's the noise, the constant chatter, the children racing through rooms, conversations happening over one another. What once felt like joy and connection can now feel overstimulating and disorienting. You might find yourself nodding along to conversations you can't fully follow, straining to catch the punchline of a joke, or pretending to laugh at stories you didn't quite hear. Afterward, you don't feel energized. You feel mentally foggy, physically drained, like your mind didn't have a chance to catch up with everything happening around you. Many seniors feel pressured to attend every family event, driven by guilt or the fear of being missed. Thoughts like, "This might be my last Christmas," or "If I skip it, they'll think I don't care," keep them showing up even when it hurts. But this quiet sacrifice, showing up just to keep the peace, often breeds emotional fatigue. Over time, it can lead to frustration and a sense of always giving without receiving the understanding you really need. There's also a deeper emotional toll. Feeling unseen. At these gatherings, conversations may focus on careers, technology, pop culture, or inside jokes you're not part of. You start to feel like an outsider in your own family, present in body but disconnected in spirit. That feeling of loneliness while surrounded by people you love is one of the hardest parts of aging, and yet it's rarely acknowledged. Physically, these events can also be tough. Preparing food, getting dressed, traveling, and staying up later than usual can throw off your routine and exhaust your body. Swollen legs, aching backs, and disrupted sleep aren't uncommon after big family functions. While everyone else bounces back quickly, you might need days to recover, and often do so in silence, without anyone realizing the toll it took. And then comes the self-judgment. You may ask yourself, why can't I handle this anymore? Or worse, am I becoming a burden? But the truth is, your body isn't breaking down. It's simply adjusting. It's asking for more peace, slower moments, and meaningful connection in smaller, more manageable doses. If you leave a gathering feeling more tense than fulfilled, it's perfectly okay to say, not this time. You don't owe anyone constant attendance. What you do owe yourself is honesty. That might look like choosing smaller, quieter meetups, a coffee date, a lunch with one or two family members, or even just a heartfelt phone call. That doesn't mean you love your family any less. It means you're finally loving yourself with more clarity and wisdom. And if your family truly loves and respects you, they'll understand. And if they don't right away, perhaps this is the season where they learn what love looks like in return. So if you've been pushing through these events just to meet expectations, take this as your reminder. Your worth isn't measured by how often you show up, but by how well you take care of yourself. Place number 5, the late-night grocery store. There's something oddly soothing about walking into a grocery store at night. The aisles are quiet, the crowds are gone, and the stillness can feel almost peaceful under the fluorescent glow. But for individuals between 65 and 80, late-night shopping can pose hidden risks, both physical and emotional, that quietly threaten your safety, well-being, and independence. Let's start with the basics. Visibility. As we age, our eyes naturally struggle more in low-light conditions. Driving at night becomes harder, and even walking through dim parking lots or poorly lit store aisles can increase the likelihood of a fall. A simple trip to pick up milk or bread can end with a painful injury like a bruised hip or something worse. Unfortunately, these accidents often lead to extended hospital stays, rehabilitation, or a domino effect of health complications that seem to arise all at once. There's also a psychological layer that's easy to overlook. By nighttime, most people, especially older adults, are winding down. Whether you've had a full day of errands, housework, or socializing, your body and brain are usually ready to rest. Pushing through that natural fatigue to run out for groceries may seem practical, especially for those wanting to avoid crowds or avoid asking for help during the day. But that choice often backfires. When you're tired, your focus fades. You might forget essential items, grab things you don't really need, or struggle to make clear decisions. There's also the emotional aspect of being alone in a large store late at night. What once felt like quiet can easily turn into a sense of isolation, or even unease. While most grocery stores are relatively safe, low traffic hours like late evenings are when incidents like theft or scams are more likely to occur, especially in parking lots. Seniors are often seen as easier targets, and even a single unsettling experience can damage your sense of security in places that once felt routine. Financially, late-night shopping isn't ideal either. Tiredness and poor lighting don't mix well when it comes to smart spending. Many older adults report coming home with overpriced snacks, prepared meals, or duplicate pantry items, all because they were too tired to think clearly or too rushed to double-check what they already had at home. Over time, these small splurges can slowly drain a fixed income. So what's the alternative? Shift your grocery trips to earlier in the day. Mornings are often the best time. Your mind is sharper, your body is more energized, and store employees are more available to assist. You're more likely to make thoughtful purchases and feel safe while doing it. In fact, grocery shopping in the morning can even become a pleasant part of your weekly routine. maybe shared with a friend, neighbor, or family member. Take Jean, a 72-year-old woman I know who used to shop every Wednesday night after dinner. She said she enjoyed the solitude until a small fall in the parking lot changed her perspective. Her doctor urged her to switch to morning outings. Jean later shared, "I feel like I've taken back my time. It's not just safer, it feels like I'm living more fully. The day belongs to me again." The habits we create after 65 carry meaning. Choosing to shop when your energy is highest and your surroundings are safer isn't just smart, it's empowering. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for yourself is to stop following the clock and start following how you feel. Place number 6, the doctor's office, when there's no clear reason. This one may come as a surprise. After decades of building a trustworthy relationship with your primary care doctor, it might feel natural, even responsible, to check in frequently. For many adults over 65, especially those between 70 and 80, seeing the doctor has become part of the routine. But there's a hidden risk in visiting too often without a specific concern. What begins as a simple response to a minor ache, a vague discomfort, or a passing worry can quietly turn into a pattern of unnecessary appointments. This isn't about avoiding real medical attention when needed. It's about recognizing when anxiety, habit, or loneliness start to guide your decision to book yet another visit. Frequent, non-essential trips to the doctor can slowly shift your mindset from one of healthy, active aging to one of passive waiting, always bracing for bad news. When your life begins to revolve around medical appointments rather than well-being, you risk redefining yourself as sick even when you're not. Modern healthcare is incredibly advanced, but it comes with its own set of risks. Over-testing can lead to false alarms, unnecessary procedures, or prescriptions you don't truly need. What starts with one concern may snowball into a cascade of follow-ups, second opinions, and added stress. Before you know it, your schedule is filled with clinic visits, and your thoughts are filled with worry about things that may never happen. For many seniors, especially those who live alone, these visits aren't always about health. They're about connection. Doctor's appointments can become one of the few regular interactions in a quiet week. It's perfectly human to crave that sense of being heard and cared for. But the exam room isn't designed for emotional support, and turning to it for that purpose can leave real health issues overlooked, or worse, cause staff to view you as a frequent flyer. That label can lead to your concerns being taken less seriously in the future, even when something truly is wrong. So how do you break the cycle? Start by redefining your approach to healthcare. Learn to distinguish between routine preventative care and unnecessary check-ins. Try keeping a health journal. Track your sleep, diet, physical activity, and any symptoms you experience. Bring this with you to annual or semi-annual appointments. It provides your doctor with a comprehensive, long-term view of your well-being, which is far more valuable than sporadic visits triggered by fleeting worries. If it's connection, conversation, or emotional reassurance you're really seeking, consider turning to community resources instead. Senior centers, volunteer opportunities, group activities, or simply reaching out to a friend for coffee can provide meaningful interaction without medical overtones. You might also benefit from talking with a counselor who understands the unique emotional needs of older adults. Your mental health matters, and there are better, healthier spaces to nurture it than a waiting room. Harold, an 81-year-old man I once met, used to visit his clinic almost every other week. When his daughter noticed he seemed more anxious, not less, she gently asked him why. "I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything," he replied. But when they reviewed his medical history, every test had been normal. What Harold truly needed wasn't another blood test or exam. It was peace of mind, companionship, and a renewed trust in his body. So if you find yourself frequently in the doctor's office without a clear concern, take a moment to reflect. What am I really looking for? Sometimes the answer isn't a diagnosis, it's support, reassurance, and a reminder that growing older doesn't have to mean living in fear. You deserve peace, connection, and confidence in your body without constant checkups standing in for emotional care. Final thoughts. Life after retirement often becomes a delicate balancing act between generosity and self-preservation, between love and personal boundaries. When we think about what we pass on to our children, it's not just about material wealth or belongings. It's also about the values we model, particularly the importance of protecting your peace, time, and wisdom. Many parents, driven by love and long-standing habits, continue to give even after their children have become independent adults. But the reality is that constant giving, without limits, can sometimes drain more than it contributes. Which of the 6 places or habits resonated with you the most? Were any surprising or unfamiliar? Maybe you've been giving rides, offering financial help, or keeping quiet during disagreements just to keep the peace. Or maybe your schedule is packed, but you're feeling worn out and unfulfilled. That quiet feeling of frustration isn't a sign of selfishness. It's your inner voice reminding you to safeguard your own space. Establishing boundaries doesn't mean pushing people away. It's an act of love, for yourself and for your family. It shows strength, encourages mutual respect, and allows you to enjoy this season of life with dignity, purpose, and peace. You've given so much. Now it's time to give yourself the freedom to live fully and authentically. You've earned that. Thank you for being here today. We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with one insight you gained and how you plan to apply it in your life. Your feedback means a lot and truly motivates us. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share it with others. Your support helps us keep creating content that informs and inspires. Thanks again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you in the next video.